Thousands of years ago, a man named Enoch saw exactly what happens after death. He didn't just see a vague light. He mapped out 4 specific waiting rooms in the unseen realm where souls go the moment they leave the body. For centuries, his map has been completely ignored. But here is the crazy part. In Luke chapter 1:6, Jesus himself used Enoch's exact map to reveal the truth about the afterlife. Today, we are opening the scriptures to uncover these 4 hidden chambers. We are going to look at what Enoch saw, and more importantly, what the Bible really says about where your departed loved ones are right now. Before we begin, if you're carrying the heavy weight of missing someone today, because what you are about to discover is going to replace your fear with an unshakable hope, let's dive in. When human beings are confronted with the terrifying, agonizing reality of death, our natural instinct is to build a psychological fortress. We want to protect ourselves. We desperately want to believe a comforting narrative. For centuries, many people, including well-meaning theologians and certain denominations, have taught a very popular concept known as soul sleep. The doctrine of soul sleep claims that the moment a person takes their last breath, their soul simply shuts down. It completely powers off. According to this theory, the dead enter a silent, dreamless, unconscious void. They don't feel anything. They don't remember anything. Time ceases to exist for them, and they simply sleep in the dust of the earth until the final trumpet sounds for the great resurrection. It is easy to see why this idea is so attractive. If soul sleep is true, then death is completely painless. It removes the terrifying possibility that our loved ones might be suffering or feeling lonely in the afterlife. But there is a massive problem with this comforting narrative. The Bible does not support it. The scriptures paint a radically different, much sharper, and far more intense picture of the afterlife. The exact microsecond the physical heart stops beating, the spiritual eyes snap wide open. The soul does not go dormant. It becomes instantly, entirely, and vividly conscious. You need to let the weight of this reality settle into your mind. The person you are grieving right now, the one whose absence leaves a gaping hole in your chest, did not fade into a gray, silent mist. They are fully awake, and because they are fully awake, their consciousness remains completely intact. Aching, longing for the family left behind. All of it survived the grave. They are experiencing reality right now, at this very moment, more vividly than you and I are. And honestly, that realization can be absolutely terrifying, especially if you don't know exactly where they went. To understand exactly where they are right now, we have to aggressively strip away centuries of Hollywood movies, medieval artwork, and pop culture theology. Modern culture has completely distorted our view of the afterlife. We have been conditioned to believe in a strict, immediate binary. The moment you die, you either sprout wings and play a harp on a cloud, or you are instantly dropped into a torturous lake of burning fire. Because of this terrifying misconception, millions of people live in quiet, paralyzing fear. They assume that if their beloved father, or their rebellious son, or their dear friend wasn't a perfect church-going Christian, they were immediately cast into eternal flames the second they flatlined. But the original ancient texts do not say that. In the ancient Hebrew scriptures of the Old Testament, the realm of the dead is called times Sheol. In the Greek text of the New Testament, the exact same place is called times Hades. Listen to me very carefully, because this distinction changes everything. Sheol and Hades are not times Gehenna. Gehenna is the terrifying final lake of fire. But Gehenna does not even come into play until the very end of time, after the final resurrection and the great white throne judgment. Sheol, on the other hand, is completely different. Sheol is simply a temporary waiting room. It is a vast, unseen holding place where every single human soul, both the righteous, who loved God, and the unrighteous, who rejected Him, must wait. It is the intermediate state. It is the holding area before the final gavel falls. But this profound truth brings up a haunting, desperate question. If Sheol is a vast underground waiting room holding billions of departed souls, what does it actually look like inside? Are the righteous and the wicked just wandering around together in the dark? Thousands of years ago, the Book of Enoch revealed that Sheol is not just one massive chaotic cavern, it is meticulously designed. It is divided into 4 very specific segregated chambers, separated by massive uncrossable chasms. And one of those specific chambers is exactly where your loved one is sitting right now. To see what the inside of this holding place actually looks like, we have to open a text that predates the New Testament by centuries. It is an ancient Jewish manuscript known as the Book of Enoch. Now, while 1 Enoch is not considered part of the standard biblical canon in most modern churches, it was fiercely protected and widely read by the early Jewish people. The early Christians studied it so heavily that the Apostle Jude actually quoted it directly in the New Testament. We are not looking at Enoch's writings to replace the Bible. We are looking at them because they give us a profound, unfiltered window into exactly how the ancient world and in the 22nd chapter of 1 Enoch, the patriarch is taken by the archangel Uriel on a terrifying journey. He is led to the extreme west of the earth, to a place where the physical realm bleeds into the spiritual. There, Enoch sees something staggering. He doesn't see clouds. He doesn't see a fiery pit. He describes a massive, towering mountain made of hard, impenetrable rock. But this mountain is not solid. Carved deep into the very core of this stone structure are 4 immense hollow places. As Enoch looks closer, the raw sensation of the place hits him. He notes that these chambers are incredibly deep. The darkness inside is absolute, pressing against the eyes. The stone walls are chillingly smooth, as if they were deliberately carved out by a master architect. Uriel explains their terrifying purpose. These 4 underground chambers were created to gather the souls of all the children of men. They are designed to keep every departed human soul segregated, separated, and waiting until the great day of judgment. But as Enoch stares into the abyss, he realizes that these 4 chambers are not identical. They are separated by deep, yawning chasms, impassable gulfs that make it impossible to cross from one room to another, and each chamber holds a drastically different experience. The first chamber immediately stands out. It is not completely dark. Enoch looks inside and sees a bright spring of living water flowing continuously through the stone. It radiates a soft, brilliant light. A specific chamber is the dwelling place for the souls of the righteous, the people who walked with God during their earthly lives. The air here is not heavy. There is a tangible sense of rest, a profound, quiet peace that is actively cooled by the flowing water. The souls here are completely awake, but they are not anxious. They are simply resting in the light. But then Enoch moves to the second chamber, and the atmosphere shifts violently. This room echoes with the unmistakable sound of weeping. This chamber is reserved for the souls of those who were unjustly murdered on earth. Enoch hears their voices crying out. Their pleas bounce off the smooth stone walls and echo all the way up to the gates of heaven, demanding justice. It is a haunting, heartbreaking sound, and it perfectly mirrors the souls we see gathered under the altar in Revelation chapter 6, crying out to God to avenge their blood. Next, Enoch looks into the third chamber. The air here is thick, heavy, and suffocatingly dark. This is the holding area for the souls of sinners who died without ever facing any consequences or judgment during their time on earth. These are the people who lived in rebellion against God, enjoyed their wealth, exploited others, and then died peacefully in their beds. They thought they had gotten away with it. But now they sit in absolute darkness. They are fully conscious, experiencing the agonizing, terrifying realization of what is coming for them when the final gavel falls. Finally, Enoch is shown the fourth chamber. It is a place of stagnant, oppressive gloom. They are locked away, trapped in the cold shadows, waiting for the final, eternal verdict. I need to stop reading the text for a second and just talk to you. When I first studied the descriptions of these 4 chambers, my heart sank into my stomach. I didn't feel a sense of theological triumph. I just felt an overwhelming wave of anxiety. And if you are watching this right now, stands now, I know exactly what your mind is doing. Your chest feels tight. Your breathing is shallow. You are mentally scrolling through the lives of the people you have lost. Maybe you are agonizing over a father who was a good man, but who never got around to making his peace with God. Maybe you are grieving a rebellious child whose life was cut tragically short before they could turn their life around. You look at Enoch's map. You see these dark, chilling underground rooms separated by massive chasms, and a terrifying question grips your throat and refuses to let go. Times. Which chamber are they locked in right now? But it feels so incredibly lonely. It feels so cold. The thought of your loved one sitting isolated in the dark, waiting for a terrifying judgment, is enough to make you physically sick. But I want you to take a deep breath. Stop letting the fear paralyze you. Before your mind spirals completely into despair, I need you to remember who holds the keys to death and Hades. God is not a chaotic, disorganized judge. He does not misplace souls. He is not a tyrant who takes pleasure in watching people suffer in the dark. If you believe that our God is so magnificent, so entirely sovereign, that he knows exactly where your loved one is at this very microsecond, I want you to go to the comments right now and type the words, "Times God is in control." Do it right now. Let that simple sentence be a physical anchor for your faith today. Enoch's map is terrifying. It paints a picture of the afterlife that feels bleak, rigid, and deeply final. But listen to me carefully. Enoch only saw the first half of the story, because thousands of years after Enoch walked the earth, a man stood up in the dusty streets of Jerusalem. He used this exact same map: the wealthy man, the beggar, the massive chasm, and the spring of living water. And with just one story, Jesus changed the rules of the unseen realm forever. When Jesus of Nazareth stood in the dusty streets of Judea, teaching the crowds, he did something that absolutely shocked the religious elite. In Luke chapter 16, he didn't just invent a random moralistic fairy tale to teach people to be kind to the poor. He actually pulled back the spiritual curtain and used Enoch's exact topographical map to expose the unseen realm. He told the profound, terrifying story of 2 men who died. One was a spectacularly wealthy man who lived his entire life in extreme, lavish luxury. He dressed in purple linen and feasted magnificently every single day. The other was a crippled beggar named Lazarus, whose body was covered in open sores, and who spent his days lying in the dirt outside the rich man's gate, desperately hoping for scraps from the table. When both men died, their physical bodies were buried in the earth. The rich man probably had a massive, expensive funeral with professional mourners, while Lazarus was likely tossed into an unmarked grave. But their souls didn't go to sleep. Their spiritual eyes snapped open, and they went immediately to the holding place. They went into Sheol. Now pause for a second. There is a tiny detail here that most people walk right past. When Jesus told parables like the parable of the sower or the prodigal son, he never used specific names. He always said a certain man or a farmer. But here Jesus uses a specific name, Lazarus. Many ancient theologians point out that this indicates Jesus wasn't telling a parable. He was recounting a literal historical event that had actually occurred in the unseen realm. To the ancient Jewish audience listening to him, the details were unmistakably clear. They recognized Enoch's map instantly. The wealthy man woke up in the 3rd chamber, the place of stagnant darkness and impending judgment reserved for those who lived entirely for themselves and died without repentance. Meanwhile, Lazarus was carried by angels directly into the first chamber, the radiant place of light and living water. I want you to imagine the raw sensory shock of that transition. Jesus describes the rich man waking up in absolute agony. The text says he is in torment, his throat is burning. He is surrounded by a suffocating, unbearable heat. The man who used to drink the finest wines on earth is now screaming, begging Abraham to send Lazarus to dip just the tip of his finger in water and cool his tongue. Notice what the rich man does not say. He doesn't scream times, "Let me out of here, I don't belong here, this is a mistake" times. He doesn't ask for a second chance. Why? Because the moment a soul crosses over the veil of human self-deception is completely ripped away. The rich man's conscience was fully awake. He knew exactly why he was in the third chamber. And he knew that the verdict was perfectly, unalterably just. That is why he only asked for a single drop of water. But look across the vast expanse. Lazarus is finally resting. The beggar who spent his entire earthly life starving, ignored, and suffering in agonizing physical pain is now enveloped in a profound, cooling comfort. He is resting against the chest of Abraham. This terrifying story shatters the illusion of soul sleep once and for all. Jesus makes it undeniably clear the soul in the afterlife is hyper-aware. The rich man vividly remembers his past life of luxury. He clearly recognizes Lazarus. He even remembers his 5 brothers who are still alive on earth. The memory of his family pierces him so deeply that he forgets about his own thirst for a moment and desperately begs Abraham to send someone back from the dead to warn his brothers. Think about the magnitude of what this means for you right now. The loved one you are mourning, if they belonged to God, they did not fall into a dark, unconscious void. The absolute second they closed their eyes in that hospital bed, they opened them in Abraham's bosom. They were greeted with immediate, tangible, physical comfort. No more heart monitors, no more fear, just an overwhelming wave of peace. But there is a sobering, terrifying reality within Jesus' story that we absolutely cannot ignore. As the rich man begs for a drop of water, Abraham responds with a chilling truth times. Between us and you, a great chasm has been set in place, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us. There it is, the great chasm. It is the exact same impassable gulf that Enoch saw separating the chambers of the dead. A soul cannot simply wander from the chamber of torment into the chamber of light. Once a person arrives in Sheol, their position is fixed, determined entirely by the choices they made while they still had breath in their lungs. It sounds so deeply final, doesn't it? That massive chasm seems utterly impossible to overcome. If this were the end of the script, billions of Old Testament souls would be forever trapped in this underground waiting room, locked in their respective chambers until the end of time. But the story did not end in Luke chapter 16. Do you have any idea what Jesus of Nazareth was actually doing during the 3 days? His physical body lay dead in the tomb. He wasn't resting. He was launching an invasion that would break the gates of Sheol wide open. For thousands of years, the spiritual geography of the afterlife remained completely locked. From the moment Adam took his first breath until the very minute Jesus hung on the cross, every single human soul that died went down into the earth. They went into the holding pens of Sheol. But when Jesus bowed his head on Golgotha and breathed his last, he did not simply cease to exist. His physical body was wrapped in linen and laid on a cold stone slab inside a tomb. But his spirit did not go to sleep. The Apostle Peter gives us a staggering glimpse into what actually happened during those 3 days in the dark. In 1 Peter chapter 3, he writes that Jesus was times put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison. And the Apostle Paul echoes this in Ephesians chapter 4, stating that before Christ ascended, he first times descended into the lower regions of the earth. In theology, this event is known as the harrowing of Hades, and it is the most glorious, earth-shattering prison break in the history of the cosmos. Try to picture the scene underground. For centuries, the souls of the righteous, Abraham, Moses, David, the prophets, and millions of ordinary faithful believers had been waiting patiently in the first chamber. They were resting by the spring of living water, but they were still confined. They were still underground. The massive, impenetrable rock of the mountain surrounded them. And then suddenly the foundation of the underworld began to violently shake. The chillingly smooth walls of Sheol cracked. The absolute darkness of the abyss was suddenly pierced by an explosive, blinding, uncreated light. Jesus of Nazareth, bearing the fresh scars of the crucifixion, stepped directly into the realm of the dead, but he did not arrive as a prisoner. He arrived as a conqueror. He didn't just walk in. He tore the gates off their hinges. Revelation 1:18 tells us that Jesus marched into the deepest stronghold of death, stripped the enemy of his authority, and actively seized the keys of death and Hades. He held them up in his own scarred hands. The great chasm could not stop him. The ancient stone walls could not hold him. He walked straight to the first chamber, Abraham's bosom. He looked at the millions of righteous souls who had been waiting for the Messiah for thousands of years, and he proclaimed that the blood had been shed. The debt was fully paid. And then he did something that changed the geography of the afterlife forever. He emptied the room. Ephesians 4:8 says that times when he ascended on high, he led a host of captives. Jesus took every single righteous soul out of that underground holding pen, led them out of Sheol, and brought them directly into the presence of God in heaven. This is the massive theological shift that almost everyone misses. This is exactly why, when you read the Old Testament, you see people terrified of dying and going down into the pit. But when you open the New Testament after the resurrection of Jesus, the language completely changes. The Apostle Paul never talks about going down into a dark chamber. He says times, "To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord." Do you understand what that means for you today? Because of that prison break, the first chamber of Sheol, Abraham's bosom, has been entirely evacuated. It is permanently empty. The gates of heaven have been ripped wide open. The moment a believer breathes their last breath on this earth, they do not go to an underground waiting room. Their soul is instantly, immediately carried into the direct, brilliant, glorious presence of Jesus Christ. They are entirely free. The sting of death has been completely sterilized. If your heart is overwhelmed with gratitude right now, if you are thankful that the God of the universe did not leave us to wander in the dark, but actually invaded the underworld to bring his people home, I want you to stop scrolling and type the word times amen times in the comments below. Let it be a testimony of your faith in the one who holds the keys. But this glorious prison break brings us to a terrifying, inescapable reality. When Jesus emptied the first chamber of Sheol and took the righteous to heaven, he did not empty the entire mountain. The massive, uncrossable chasm remained completely intact. The souls of the unrighteous, the people locked in the third and fourth chambers, were left behind. The wealthy man who ignored Lazarus is still there. The tyrants, the unrepentant, and ennui, the ones who chose to live as their own gods, they are all still sitting in the suffocating darkness. That they are fully awake and they are still waiting. But what exactly are they waiting for? Many people mistakenly believe that Sheol or Hades is the final destination for the wicked. They think it is the ultimate hell. But biblically and theologically, that is entirely incorrect. Hades is not the final prison. It is a temporary holding cell where the accused are kept under strict guard while they wait for their court date. And according to the final pages of the Bible, that court date is rapidly approaching. In Revelation chapter 20, the Apostle John is given a vision of the end of all things. He doesn't see a fiery pitchfork or a chaotic underworld. He sees something far more terrifying in its absolute clinical justice. He sees a great white throne. John says that the sheer holiness radiating from the one sitting on the throne is so overwhelming that the earth and the sky physically tear themselves apart, trying to flee from his presence. But there is nowhere left to hide. In that moment, the book of Revelation tells us that times, death, and Hades gave up the dead that were in them. The ancient underground, holding pens of Enoch's map, will be completely emptied. Every single soul that has been waiting in the dark chambers for thousands of years will be dragged out into the blinding, uncreated light of the Creator. The rich man will stand up. The corrupted kings will stand up. The unrepentant will stand up. There will be no debate. There will be no lawyers. There will only be the opening of the books and the final, irrevocable reading of the verdict. And then John describes the most terrifying execution in the history of existence. He writes, "Times, then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire." This is the ultimate distinction that we must understand. Hades is the temporary waiting room. Gehenna, the lake of fire, is the final, eternal execution chamber. It is the place of the second death. When the gavel finally falls, the temporary underground prison of Sheol will be completely eradicated. The temporary darkness will be consumed by the eternal fire. For those who rejected the rescue mission of the Messiah, the agonizing wait in the third chamber will end only to be replaced by a terrifying permanent reality from which there is absolutely no escape. The great chasm will become an eternal boundary. So let us go back to the very first question we asked. When you stand in that cemetery staring down at the dirt, where exactly is your loved one? If they belong to Jesus Christ, they are not asleep in the dirt. They are not wandering like a ghost in a foggy, gray void. And because of the greatest rescue mission in the history of the universe, they are no longer waiting in a dark, underground chamber in Sheol. The absolute microsecond, their earthly heart stopped beating. Their spiritual eyes opened in the direct, blinding, glorious presence of God. They are hyper-aware. They are physically comforted. They remember you, and they are experiencing a level of joy and peace that your human mind cannot even begin to comprehend. Death is no longer a dark, terrifying mystery. But I have to ask you the hardest question of all. Look at Enoch's map. Look at the great white throne. The boundary lines are absolutely fixed, and once you cross over, there is no second chance. There is no negotiating. There is no wandering between the chambers. When your lungs take their final breath on this earth, and your spiritual eyes snap open, when that is not, and then hast, and then Mandiu, whose face are you going to see? Will you wake up in the suffocating darkness, waiting in terror for a judgment you cannot escape? Or will you wake up in the arms of the Savior who already paid your debt in full? The choice is entirely yours, but the clock is ticking. If this video has brought you peace, or if it has finally given you a clear biblical answer about where your loved ones are right now, do not keep it to yourself. There is someone in your life right now who is terrified of dying. There is someone who is crying themselves to sleep because they don't know where their father or their child is. Share this video with them right now. Click the share button and send it in a message. Let the truth of God's rescue mission set them free from the terror of the grave. I will see you in the next video.